What is up, people? Sixth man here, joined by my partner in crime from Duval County. It's House Lasku, the reigning champ, not doing too well this season. Why are we here? We're here to react to some games. We don't want to be a Sixers pod, but both of my teams played last night, and it was an overtime game. So I thought we'd talk about it. And why not? Because I can. Because I can. Ed, did you catch the game?
Not really. I got League Pass and I was hoping to watch the Magic game in the morning, but I saw the score and I was like, no, I can't be asked to watch this.
All right.
30-point loss now.
All right, well, let me break it down for you. So the Sixers beat the Hornets 127 to 124 in overtime. Very back and forth game. Ultimately, the Hornets missed a three to tie the game in overtime. They had two attempts at it in different possessions. But just to break it down, so the good for the Sixers, Joel Embiid. I mean, the guy filled the stat sheet. He was putting an absolute clinic on down low. He was getting whatever he wanted. I think impressive from my side of things as a fan is he had 17, 7 and 3 with no turnovers in the first half. And he was able to mix it up. So normally he would settle for mid-range. Maybe that's because of the wear and tear of him constantly getting fouled. And whenever he gets fouled, it almost feels like he's going to get injured. But yeah, he got to the foul line. He had to put up Hezzy, which he loves. And I think he showed why he was so elite. I'm going to talk about the worrying before I bring you in on this, Ed. The worrying part for the Sixers is that Tobias didn't have a very good game. He was really bad defensively. From what I saw, there was a lot of entry passes that he could have made a play on, where people were abusing him on a defensive matchup, but he didn't. And this actually translated to him on offense, where his only buckets really came from the massive attention that was from Embiid. So that was a bit of a worrying sign. And also another point is that a guy that we've brought up on this show in a positive light, Matisse. Matisse didn't have a good game at all. He got burned a lot of times. He had 3 fouls in the first in 9 minutes. And I think he spoke about it before, where when he makes a big play on the defensive end, he always talks about it's normally because he makes a mistake, and it seems like the mistakes have just been unraveling this season. Seems like he's been making a lot more. That's just my point.
Are you saying he's suffering from Aaron Wan-Bissaka syndrome?
But he doesn't have the 50 mil price tag, does he?
Anyway, I can't help myself with the United thing. I'm sorry, I just can't help it. They didn't get any of the stacks yesterday. No steals, no blocks for Matisse, and there are a couple of times he's had a couple of highlight plays where he's been burnt and not done well, but still he is still an elite defender. But that is worrying that when you were talking about it, the thing that popped into my head is that most elite teams tend to have more than one scorer who can just score by themselves, who can get their own bucket, who can get some sort of ISO bucket. Embiid is definitely one, but Sixers don't have another person who can just get their own shot or get their own bucket. Like Seth is relying a lot on running off screens and getting open, and Tobias isn't the most reliable at getting his own shot. I saw that in Orlando for a little while. Of course, his game has evolved since then, but he's not going to get his own shot.
He's not efficient if he's not precise with his dribbles, and that's why he works so well in the Doc system, because it was the first practice where Doc saw him like doing ISO dribbling. He was like, no, that's not what you're good at. So
how's the boy Tyrese done? How's PG1 going?
Yeah, no, I'm happy with Tyrese, and I think a lot of Philly fans will be upset if he's included in a trade package, which has obviously been spoke about, because they want to see him develop, they want to see him grow. They like how he plays. He's got a reckless abandonment when he goes to the rim, and I think we like it. I like it.
So, would you be happy with Simmons and Maxey for McCollum trade? Oh no, Simmons for McCollum trade. Would you be happy with that?
Yeah, McCollum's a Philly boy, but I don't want to talk too much about Simmons.
No, he's a Cleveland boy.
Oh, he played college in Philly, I believe. Yes, so he's used to the area. He's used to, that's important, man. Some people can't deal with the environment. Anyway, moving on from the Sixers, we'll talk about the Hornets. Really positive for them, as you all know. LaMelo's out at the moment, and
Yep.
so is Rozier because of COVID. But they had from what I saw, a really diverse attack. James
Yes.
Bouknight, the rookie, had a huge putback in this game where you were like, whoa, okay, it came out of nowhere. And it's a positive, but it's a bit worrying, but he finally hit his first NBA three. So good for him.
Book Knight was the guy that was raising his stock in the draft after the tournament ended, and with all the workouts, I was like, "Oh my gosh, James Book Knight, you could go in the top 10." Blah 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 blah. I think he fell to Charlotte, was in 15th, and I was having a look at the rookie ladder race just because obviously my boy should be in the top 3, which he is. Shout out Fozzie, and Book Knight has not been doing much because I was like, "Oh shit, what happened to Book Knight?" And I saw. I completely forgot, firstly, who he was drafted to. And second, like, he hasn't been doing anything in the Charlotte. But again, it's only his rookie year. So, yeah. You mentioned Book Knight.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like the box score and what they did, and it was showing really on the highlights, but you got Bridges, Hayward, PJ, Cody Martin, Nick Richards, who's a guy I've never heard of. They were all in double figures. And I think the only other guy who played for them in
Kelly
that
Oubre?
game, no, he had 8 points, but I'm going to get to Kelly Oubre. But
Okay.
just another point on the depth. I mean, they're pushing the former number 1 seed without their 2 best scorers, maybe their 2 best players, is really impressive. But yes, Ed, Kelly Oubre, the guy, talk about like taking a chance and stepping up to the plate. I mean, he had 28 points against the Hawks. I think he had 23 or 26 against the Bucks, and these were both away from home. And he had 4 steals and a block to go with 35 points. So you look at the performance. I mean, he got dogged a lot for the Warriors. I feel like maybe he didn't fit the system, which I think is really important. But he's stepping up in a major way. He's a cool player to watch. Very, very cool player.
He's got some intensity about him as well, which is really fun to watch because he had some pretty good games against the Magic. We play Charlotte about 4 times a year because we're in the same division. And yeah, it's really fun watching him play and seeing him fit into his role. It may just be spending some time in Golden State and learning how to sort of fit in that role, but obviously moving now to Charlotte. And when you're talking actually about the Golden State fit, did you see Andrew Wiggins the other night against Orlando?
Yeah.
8 3-pointers? Gosh, Minnesota wish they could have a bit more of that, but I'm sure they're fine now. Anyway, sorry, moving on to like 3 different tangents. But on your point on Kelly Oubre, just such a nice fit. And when you're describing it, actually, the way you were describing their depth reminded me a little bit of what Atlanta were going through last year with their leap, with Trae Young being the main start and having all this depth around him, having about 10 players you feel can be in their rotation that could play every night. This feels like it could be an Atlanta 2.0 with an exciting point guard whose best asset is creating for his teammates. And I'm sure that's definitely the best asset about Trae, his assists and how he's able to involve his teammates. And that's the best asset of LaMelo. So that's a fun thing to just thinking about it there. And also actually on that Golden State point as well, remember that draft. They had the pick. They picked Wiseman instead of Ball. I know some people don't like to talk about it, but that's just like one of those fun what ifs.
Yeah, but I mean, it couldn't have worked. I don't think it could have worked, man.
Why not?
I mean,
You're telling me Steph doesn't like to play off the ball. LaMelo would like to play a little bit off the ball as well. You can see him playing off the ball as well.
I just think there would have been I really think there would have been an overload. I don't know, man. If there's one player who can play with anything, it's Steph Curry because he's just so smart. But I just feel like it happened in the best way because LaMelo has his own team now, and you know that franchise in Charlotte has been struggling for so many years.
Dormant.
Yeah, like they need something, and I was the person who I didn't think LaMelo was really going to do much. So
I haven't forgotten that. I will definitely bring it up quite.
We could be wrong, Ed. You know, you've been wrong many a times in your life. You know.
On the Charlotte point, when I did watch them earlier on in the year against Orlando, their defense was just a fucking sieve. They weren't the best on the defensive end of the court. How do you feel their defense did against Philly last night? Again, it's hard with most teams to have to guard Embiid anyway, but in general.
There was a massive second quarter run by the Sixers, and they had a lead in the first quarter. But with Charlotte, it's all about energy. So a lot of their runs come from the excitement of highlight players that they make. So
Yeah.
And that's plays on both ends, and it's not sustainable. But if they're able to gain momentum, I think they're one of those teams, maybe in the top 10, top 5 teams of momentum, of being able to change a game because of who they have on the floor. Energy is very infectious on that team. There's people who can really make eye-opening plays, I would say. It's exciting.